Vice President Sara Duterte says she is seriously considering running in the 2028 elections despite her impeachment at the House of Representatives. However, Duterte says she will also still have to assess her odds of winning the race before actually taking part in it.
Wala pa tayo dyan. Wala pa tayo dyan. But nasabi ko naman di ba, paulit-ulit we are seriously considering that. But it's difficult to decide without numbers. So, kailangan malaman yung surveys and numbers. Sa next year pa yun.
Duterte does not specify if she will be running for president or another position in 2028. The House of Representatives impeached Duterte on Wednesday, February 5, with a total of 215 House members backing the complaint. If she is convicted by the Senate, which will serve as an impeachment court, Duterte might be permanently barred from public office, including the presidency. Despite this penalty in mind, Duterte says she is not yet considering resigning from her post as vice president. Vice President Sara Duterte says she is inclined to tell her father not to stand as her lead legal counsel in her impeachment case, considering former President Rodrigo Duterte's age. In a press conference on Friday, February 7, the Vice President was asked if her father would be among her defense team.
He's a lawyer, so he is welcome to give his advice, input in the defense. Maybe if he wants to, he can be part of the defense team, but because of his age, and because of rigorous preparations in an impeachment case, baka sabihin ko sa kanya na wag na lang siyang mag-lead dahil medyo may edad na si former President Rodrigo Duterte. He's already 80 years old this year.
The Vice President also expresses that she is not keen on attending her impeachment trial in the Senate.
Kung pwede namang hindi, and I understand pwede naman, hindi na. Kasi baka ma-intimidate lang sila lahat sa presence ko doon.
Earlier, Senate President Chis Escudero said there would be no legal constraint should former President Duterte decide to serve as a legal counsel for his daughter in light of the impeachment that the Vice President is facing. Escudero also said the Vice President can represent herself in addition to other lawyers, but notes she can't be forced to testify in the case because it will violate her right against self-incrimination. However, he says the impeachment court has the right to issue a subpoena against the Vice President if she ever gets invited and doesn't attend the proceedings. According to Escudero, the Senate of the next Congress following the midterm elections will decide the fate of Vice President Duterte in a trial after the chamber adjourned without convening as an impeachment court. Akbayan Party List Representative Percival Sendanya says if the Philippines needs saving, it should be from Vice President Sara Duterte and her family. In delivering her reaction to the House of Representatives' move to impeach her, Duterte uttered the words, "God save the Philippines," during a press briefing on Friday, February 7. In a statement, Sendanya says Duterte's plea to save the Philippines is deeply ironic, coming from someone who supposedly failed to save public funds from misuse and defend our fisherfolk from China's harassment in the West Philippine Sea. He believes that if anyone should be saying God save the Philippines, it's the people suffering from the Duterte family's corruption, incompetence, and impunity. In an online briefing later on, Sendanya also urges Duterte to check herself first before making such remarks. According to Sendanya, Duterte failed to save the Department of Education from alleged corruption and anomalies in confidential funds. The House of Representatives impeached Duterte on Wednesday, February 5, after 215 lawmakers signed and endorsed the fourth impeachment complaint, allowing for a quick transfer to the Senate. It is now up to the Senate whether or not to convict Duterte. There were 7 articles of impeachment in the verified complaint sent to Duterte. One of the articles of impeachment mentioned is the betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption due to alleged confidential fund misuse of the DepEd and the Office of the Vice President. The Department of Transportation says the EDSA bus lane will not be removed, pointing out the agency is even eyeing its privatization. In a radio interview on Friday, February 7, Transport Secretary Jaime Bautista says there were only discussions of the EDSA bus lanes phase-out during a private meeting with President Bongbong Marcos and concerned government agencies on Metro Manila's traffic plan. According to Bautista, it was mentioned during the discussion that the EDSA busway may be a replication of the MRT-3. However, Bautista says it was not necessarily correct as the EDSA busway serves commuters from Caloocan City up to the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange in Parañaque City. He also notes that the president highlighted the need for an efficient public transportation system. The DOTR chief says the agency is actually eyeing the privatization of the EDSA busway system by 2026 with a feasibility study underway. Aside from the EDSA carousel, Bautista says they are also looking into the possibility of adding more buses in the system. Earlier, top officials of the Department of the Interior and Local Government and the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority bared the possibility of the EDSA bus lanes phase-out once the capacity of the MRT-3 is expanded. However, several groups and individuals slammed the proposal, urging the government to prioritize the needs of commuters. According to the DOTR, over 63 million commuters traveled along the EDSA busway in 2024. The Philippine Coast Guard is zeroing in on the waters of Zambales due to the presence of the China Coast Guard's monster ship for a few months now. In an online press briefing on Friday, February 7, PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, notes that China Coast Guard 5901 is staying in waters of Zambales, which is near the Scarborough Shoal, also known as Panatag Shoal. Tariela says the arrival of China Coast Guard 5901 as close as 54 nautical miles last January 4 gave PCG a compelling reason to deploy its flagship vessel, BRP Teresa Magbanua.
Our intention is to prevent the China Coast Guard from getting closer the coastline of Zambales. Again, the only alarming and compelling reason why we really deployed Teresa Magbanua is because it came close as near as 54 nautical miles noong January 4. But again, the intention is for us to make sure that this China Coast Guard vessels, whether it's China Coast Guard 5901 or the monster ship or 3304, we have to make sure that it will no longer go near the coastline of Zambales or in Pangasinan.
While the PCG is focusing on Zambales at present, Tariela assures the public that they have deployed vessels to cover the entire West Philippine Sea, including the northern parts of the country, in Palawan and Kalayaan Island Group. Spotted in the western section of the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone since December 2024, China Coast Guard 5901 is considered to be the largest armed Coast Guard cutter in the world. China Coast Guard 5901 is 165 meters long and 22 meters wide, about 1.5 of an average football field, and weighs 12,000 tons. The PCG deployed its biggest ship, BRP Teresa Magbanua, a 97-meter multi-role response vessel to keep the monster ship at bay. While relatively near the Zambales coast, the monster ship is still outside the territorial waters of the country. The monster ship's intrusive patrols are based on Beijing's assertion of sovereignty over almost the entire South China Sea, including most of the West Philippine Sea. But the historic 2016 arbitral award effectively rejected Beijing's sweeping claims and reaffirmed Manila's sovereign rights over the West Philippine Sea.